Since the last time I seen CM Punk wrestle at the Royal Rumble this year, it got me thinking about many things. And one thing in particular that bothers me and has bothered me for many years, that this piece of wasted the rest of CM Punk's prime. We all know where the ascension of CM Punk started. Started in 2011. The beginning of the Summer of Punk was the beginning of a 2-year run that CM Punk will go on. Let's go over that 2-year run. It starts with him dropping his iconic pipe bomb on John Cena. He would then go on to defeat John Cena at Money in the Bank for the WWE Championship. He would lose it a month later and then go on to regain it 3 months later at Survivor Series. And that would start a 434-day title reign. At the time, he was the longest reigning WWE champion of the modern era, surpassing John Cena with 53 more days. The historic title run came to an end by the hands of The Rock at the 2013 Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and that was pretty much the end of CM Punk's 2-year run. And of course, he would then go on to face The Undertaker at that year's WrestleMania, putting on a barn burner and a loss. And interestingly enough, CM Punk was getting over as a heel. The fans were cheering CM Punk while he was disrespecting Paul Bearer, who had just passed away. That just lets you know that CM Punk still had some steam following his defeat to The Rock. It's like the fans were getting behind the idea of CM Punk beating the Streak, but it was not to be. Following this, CM Punk will go ahead and enter a program with Brock Lesnar, in which he would face him at that year's SummerSlam, and once more he would not be victorious in a great rivalry that I feel is underrated, and we definitely should have gotten more between the two. And after that rivalry with Brock Lesnar in 2013, CM Punk fell into irrelevancy. The booking of CM Punk became quite mediocre, but the fans never gave up on CM Punk. And by January 2014, the fans wanted either CM Punk or Daniel Bryan to win the Royal Rumble. Unfortunately, Daniel Bryan wasn't even in the match, and CM Punk was not in the plans to win the match, just as much as Daniel Bryan wasn't in the plans to win the match. Punk would also suffer an injury during the match, which would result in Kane pulling him out for a spot. And that would be the last time we would see CM Punk in a WWE ring until 2023, and he was only 35 years old. The plan was for CM Punk to face Triple H at WrestleMania 30, but CM Punk didn't want to do that because he felt that Triple H had slighted him and derailed his push a little bit in 2011 when he defeated CM Punk at Night of Champions. And before I continue, I'm going to let CM Punk explain himself.
Vince, I need to talk to you. And Hunter was in the room and he goes, oh, I'll leave. And I went, no, you know what? You can stay. I don't care. You need to hear this too. And I just looked Vince in the eye and I said, I do not love this anymore. I'm sick. I'm hurt. I'm confused. I thought when I re-signed 3 years ago, Vince, I told you if I couldn't be all that I could be, that you should fire me. That if I was a fraud and I was anything less and fell short of the mark, I said I sold more shirts than John Cena until I turned heel for you. You said you owed me one. I did all these things, and all I wanted was the main event of WrestleMania. I said it boggles my mind how Daniel Bryan has not figured into your plans to be in the main event of WrestleMania, because this is his year. Just like 2 years ago, it was my year, and I was white hot, just like he is now. And what did you do? You fed me to this guy. And I pointed right at Hunter. You're in the main event. It is a main event. You're wrestling Triple H. And I turned to Hunter and I said, all due respect, I do not need to wrestle you. You need to wrestle me. I do not want to wrestle you. I seriously resent you for not putting me over 3 years ago when you should have. That would have been best for business, but you had to come in and squash it. And I was just like, right on. All right. I said, I'm out of here.
Right.
And Vince, with tears in his eyes, stood up and I stuck my hand out and he went in for a hug. And it was like a reluctant, like I just kind of patted him on the back a little bit. And I looked at Hunter and he stuck his hand out. I shook his hand and I said, goodbye. And I walked out.
CM Punk would then go on to explain what ultimately led him to be finally terminated from WWE.
The week after I left, Vince texts me, just like the 2 surgeries. how you feeling, pal? You ready to come back to work? And I text him like, no, I'm so mentally shot. I still can't sleep. This, that. Vince texts me and says that I'm suspended. He says, well, I wish you could have, lasted until the end of your contract, but you're suspended for 2 months. So I did the math in my head. It was the day after Mania, my suspension was up. So I was like, all right, I'm missing Mania. I don't care. I hate wrestling at this point. So the 2 months is up, and I don't hear anything. Nobody texts me. Nobody says your suspension is up. I had to listen to Vince on an investor call say that I was on a sabbatical, and I was like, huh, why wouldn't he announce to his investors that I was suspended? That's weird. And then I don't get my royalty check. 2 days before my wedding, I get a text from Hunter out of the blue. He texts me if I have time to talk. And I said, I'm a reasonable guy. I've always had time to talk. I've always just been a phone call away. But I'm getting married in 2 days, and I'm going to my honeymoon. How about we talk the day I get home, I'll call you. In the meantime, reissue me that royalty check that I've been asking about for the past 2 months. Send me my royalties that I've been asking about for 2 months. That is reasonable, and then I'll talk to you when I get back from my honeymoon. He did not respond to the text. The day of my wedding, I got a FedEx in the mail, and it was my termination papers. I was fired. So take that, everyone who says I need to be, I'm a quieter on Twitter.
You're a real quieter.
I was fired.
Following his termination from WWE, 7 years would go by without CM Punk wrestling. He stopped wrestling at 35 years old, and he returned to wrestling at 42 years old. CM Punk has always stated that he never wanted to leave the WWE, that he wanted to come back, but just under better circumstances. He was just a phone call away. The WWE just never reached out. 2019 was the closest we got to a CM Punk return, and it wasn't actually him being hired by WWE. It was a Fox production, but that is now the past, and what is present is the fact that CM Punk is now back with the WWE, and he has his sights locked on a WrestleMania main event. And unfortunately, it won't be this year because he was injured in the Royal Rumble. And I wasn't surprised that that happened because CM Punk has been very injury prone since he's returned to wrestling. And no matter what excuse you want to come up with, CM Punk in the Royal Rumble did not look particularly impressive. He looked extremely underwhelming and a huge shell of his former self. CM Punk has always been a below average athlete, and now that he's older with his body breaking down, the little bit of athleticism that he had that helped him in his prime isn't helping him at all now. Each and every time CM Punk gets injured, he has to work and grind his body to get back, and it takes something from him. Hell, it would take something from anybody who would have to do that constantly, especially a middle-aged man like himself who, I already stated, has never really been a great athlete. And I want CM Punk's dream of main eventing WrestleMania to come true, but I just hope that him being injury prone does not jeopardize that once more. It truly sucks that we missed 7 years, 7 full years of the rest of his prime, and we don't know what that could have turned out to be.